Joining me today are two really good friends and one TBN programmer, Alex Kendrick. Welcome, my friend.
Good to see you.
Alex is the director, co-writer of Fireproof and Facing the Giants, and also a small little film we've aired here on TBN many times called Flywheel.
Yeah.
And you are, give me a little background, your church, and how did you get in the movie business?
Grew up making silly little movies in our backyard with my brother Steven, and you know, the big suitcase that was our camcorder back then.
Yeah.
Went into ministry years later, but never lost the desire to tell stories, and God began to burn in me a desire to use movies to tell stories that hopefully would impact people's lives, and so we did Flywheel at Sherwood Baptist Church in Albany, Georgia, and then that followed. We followed up with Facing the Giants, which. You know, you guys, you have to tell your part of that one day. But and now here we are with Fireproof and Kirk Cameron, so we're excited.
Kirk, how are you, my friend?
Doing great.
Kirk, obviously, many of you recognize him from Way of the Master, a program that airs right here on TBN. We've talked about that many times. But what was your involvement in Fireproof, this new movie of Alex's?
Well, Fireproof is essentially about a firefighter and his wife and their relationship. He's a hero everywhere except in his own home. He's putting out fires, except at home his marriage is going up in flames. And it's about what happens when this man ultimately comes to a place where he realizes he doesn't know what love is, he doesn't have what it takes to rescue his marriage, and his father steps in to bring about a change in his life and in his marriage. And I play the firefighter named Caleb Holt.
I love seeing movies that uplift Christ and have such a positive message. And I think all of us are starting to see the level of the ocean raise a little bit in Christian films and entertainment. Would you agree?
Oh, hopefully. And you know, that's been our prayer, that the Lord would help us and that we'd be able to do this with excellence, and that people would see something that represents their faith very well.
Yeah, and you've been in Hollywood for many, many years, and Hollywood can be a pretty dark place, can it not? Aren't you glad to see some of these faith-paced movies and projects coming around?
Oh, absolutely. I'm very grateful, particularly not just for good ideas, but for groups of people that pool their talent and their resources to be able to take those good ideas and make them into real high-quality projects.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we're going to talk about. What is Fireproof?
You know, Fireproof is a focus on marriage. You know, marriage has been watered down, attacked, redefined, and what we're trying to do is lift up a standard for what God says marriage should be. And hopefully people will walk out of the theater, be challenged to look at their own marriage as a way for husbands to love their wives like Christ loved the church, which is a hard thing to do, and you cannot do it apart from getting your source from God. And so, and Kirk does a great job in the movie demonstrating the journey that an average man goes through from selfishness to love. And I don't know if you want to add to that, but
well,
it's
I was
going to
say, how and why did you get involved?
I just wanted to act in a movie with Coach Grant Taylor. And,
actually, normally he stars in all his films, you know. This is quite a coup here you pulled off.
Yeah.
I mean, true?
I had big shoes to do. Just do. Well, I saw Facing the Giants, and I absolutely loved it. I loved everything about it. I loved the ministry mindset of the movie. I loved the message of the movie. And I had called Alex and said, Alex, hey, if you're making a new movie sometime in the future, please consider me. I'd love to be involved. And through the course of another year and a half or so, Alex began holding auditions for the role of Caleb Holt, and I said, yeah, I'd love to come audition. So he made me audition 9 of the hardest scenes in that movie. It was a cruel, cruel thing. And I had to gain 15 pounds for the role. I had to act my heart out. And I just felt like the story was so good. It was so real and had such potential. My only thought was, I just don't want my acting to get in the way of this story. And it was the toughest role I've ever played.
Dude, how could you torture Mike Seaver from growing pains like that? Now, come on.
You know, he killed Mike Seaver.
Oh, yeah. He was so good with his humor playing Mike Seaver. But this time I said, you know, this topic is just too serious. We can't have any Mike Seaver at all. Matter of fact, I told him we were on set one day, I said, as far as I'm concerned, Mike Seaver doesn't exist. And when he came out to play Caleb Holt, he grabbed down the the gut-wrenching emotions that needed to be pulled out, and there's some scenes in this movie that'll give you chills.
Well, we're going to show a trailer in just a moment, but the other thing that just is amazing to me, and people should know this, you realize by doing a movie with Alex, it's all volunteer. You realize that. There's no, like, huge seven-figure fees or anything.
Wait a minute. You didn't tell me that.
Surprise!
Yeah, welcome to Behind the Scenes.
Yeah.
You did this as a volunteer.
Just like everyone else.
Yeah.
There was a handful of paid professionals on here. You have to have a real sound man. You've got to have a real DP. But by and large, this was a movie made by volunteers.
Yeah. How does that work? I mean, and again, I've seen the quality you can see on the screen. How do you do it with volunteers? This is amazing to me.
Yeah, you still have to use people where their gifts are. You know, you still want to do things with excellence. And you know, but at the same time, there's a lot of prayer that goes into it. There's a lot of seeking God for his involvement and direction. But at the same time, we do everything we can do at the highest level of excellence that we can possibly do it at, and give God the rest. And he took it, and I'm so excited about Fireproof. I think our production value has gone up. I think the acting has gone up, and I think the story will strike a lot of people's hearts.
Let's go right now. We've got a very special trailer from Alex Kendrick's newest film, Fireproof. I think something we should all check out.
Okay, let's roll! Man, I'm Captain Holt from the Albany Fire Department. But we're gonna get you out of here. Let's go, let's go! 1, 2, 3! Newspaper called me twice wanting an interview. Seems I'm a hero with everybody in the world except my wife.
Man, I've seen you run into a burning building and save people you don't even know, but you're gonna let your own marriage just burn to the ground.
Catherine and I were in love when we got married. But today, we're two very different people.
We fight more than we do anything else.
A real man's got to be a hero to his wife before he can be to anybody else. Or he ain't a real man.
She's probably whining to her friends. I can see them all right now having some sort of group hug.
It's gonna be all right. You'll get through this.
All you need to make marriage work is a little bit of romance. And that comes from right here.
Man, that's easy to say when you ain't never been married.
We're done, Dad. I am not going to keep doing this.
I want you to hold off on the divorce for 40 days. I'm going to send you something in the mail. Take one day at a time, then see what happens.
Every day has me adding a new concept to the way I treat her.
My advice is go all out.
In the last few days, he has fixed me coffee, bought me these pitiful little flowers, and just now called just to see if I'm doing okay.
Up to this point, my heart's not been in it.
This whole love dare thing, it's not working. You can't love her because you can't give her what you don't have.
You gotta beg God to teach you how to be a good husband. And don't just follow your heart. You gotta lead your heart.
No love is not a fight, but it's something worth fighting.
You gotta get out of the house. The room is about to give.
Fireproof. Never leave your partner behind.
And that's Kirk's voice there at the
Is
end.
it? That was good. Definitely wasn't Mike Seaver. I can tell you that. How did you pick the kind of the subject marriage? Why go there?
You know, we began each of our movies with a season of prayer saying, God, we want a God idea instead of a good idea. What do you want us to do? And the Lord directed us to this topic. And I think the Lord is doing a movement across our nation, our culture, restoring His purpose and principles for marriage. And we're excited to be a part of that. And, you know, He's already with the buzz of this movie. And, you know, there have already been, in the pre-screenings of this movie, people that rededicated their marriage and their walk with God after seeing a priest. You know, we show them to pastors to show them what we're doing, and some of the pastors have gone home and wept with their wives and said, this is what I've needed to do for you. And so, yeah, it's something we believe God told us to do.
Well, I've even, Kirk, seen statistics where the divorce rate in the church is higher than the world. Yeah. I mean, that just kind of is hard to believe.
Yeah, it is, and it shouldn't be that way.
Yeah.
We've got not only the picture of what marriage ought to be, and we understand what that ought to be, but we are to be tapped into the power source to be able to love our wives the way Christ loved the church.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we're not seeing that in the church the way that we should. I think that speaks a lot to the fact that we do have a lot of presented people who are not really tapped into the power source. I think we've got some watered down teaching. But for those of us who really do love our spouse, who really do love the Lord, we just need, I think, good, solid instruction. And we can get that through a good church, and we can also get it through a movie like Fireproof, because it not only describes what a man is to do to lead his wife, but then shows what it looks like when you put flesh and blood to that and a man starts doing it.
Yeah, amen.